Welcome to Becoming a Sleep Consultant. I'm your host, Jane Havens, a certified sleep consultant and founder of both Snooze Fest by Jane Havens and Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. On this podcast, I'll be discussing the business side of sleep consulting. You'll have an insider's view on launching, growing, and even scaling a sleep consulting business. This is not a podcast about sleep training. This is a podcast about business building and entrepreneurship. Nas is the founder of Next Level Up CEO and the Easy Yes Method. Over the last 13 years, she's worked with over 400 coaches, consultants, and healers to 2 to 5x their revenue and turn strangers and lurkers into premium clients in just 7 days. She also happens to be my business strategist and business BFF. Nas, welcome back to the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast. I always love having these conversations with you.
And I always love being here. So thank you for having me again.
So I wanted to have you on the podcast because I think it was a couple of days ago, you made a post on Facebook that really resonated with me. And I have it sitting in front of me. So I guess I'll read it or paraphrase. I don't know. I'll decide as I'm doing it. Okay, I'm going to read it. You said, everyone talks about wanting high-paying premium clients, but nobody wants to hear about how you have to be the premium solution to those premium buyers, or that you have to have a sales system that supports how premium buyers buy. And then you said, let me be clear, you have to put in the work to get those unicorn buyers. That really resonated with me in a big way. Can we unpack that? Can you tell me, I'm wondering, first of all, what prompted you to make that post, and tell me what's behind all of that?
For sure. First of all, I love that you reached out to me to talk about this because you and I both know, like, this is one of my favorite conversations to have. You and I have it behind the scenes a lot. And I think that the key is, like, to give a little bit of background. I've been in business as an entrepreneur for about 13 years now, in marketing for 20. That's important because I think there are so many people who have jumped into this business world in 2020 and beyond, and they've been sold a dream, or they've bought into this dream that they'll be able to have everything they want with, rainbows and butterflies, and it's going to be perfect right out the gate. It's going to be easy peasy. I'm going to hit that easy button and be all set. And it comes to a point where everyone wants to talk about how frustrated they are with, I'm not getting the type of people who will buy from me, or why is nobody buying here? Why am I having to work so hard? And in reality, they want to believe that it's just as simple as, I just need better clients. I just need better leads, without realizing that, like, you have to be a match for that style of client. You cannot simply be the run-of-the-mill Me Too option out there and expect that a high-paying, sophisticated, and what I call high-intent client is going to say, yeah, let me pay you more money than I would Jill down the street, when you look exactly the same. You operate exactly the same. You don't do anything different. There's no mastery to what you do. So to me, I just think there's so much conversation being had around this topic, but not enough truth about what it actually takes to get there.
Yeah. So what does it take to get there?
I love this question. So I will tell you that it really comes down to 3 key things. Number one, you have to be a match for that, right? So we already talked about this. We need messaging that speaks to that person. We need to actually know what makes that a premium client. So I'll just tell you, I define premium clients much differently than most people do. Yes, they're high paying, but more importantly, they're high intent. So these are people who actually are wanting and seeking out a solution to their problem. So you and I even had this conversation years and years ago, where if in sleep consulting, it's someone who's already decided that they will never they can't go another night without getting rest. They can't sit here and wallow in the situation that they're in. They don't want to be convinced. They don't need to be talked into the fact that they should care about this problem. This problem is all they can think about. It's like priority number one in their lives. So I hear a lot of people who will talk about, oh, you just need to talk to people with money, or you just need to talk to premium clients. And it's like, well, but premium clients, to me, I define this as high intent. Someone who truly actually knows that they, one, have the means and want it, like they're qualified to wanting that, but also have the intent. They want to be able to solve this problem. This is a priority. So that's number one, is I really, truly think defining who that is in your world. Second to that, Are you the right solution? Are you the solution for a premium client? And I'm going to be 100% honest about this. Most people are not. Most people are not set up to be a premium solution. So they're sitting there and saying, listen, I want the best clients out there, but I want to do the least amount of work. I want to be the bare minimum. I want to be another Me Too brand out there, and expecting that that person's going to come along and say, yep, I want to work with you versus the thousands of other options out there. And I don't mean to say that in a mean way, but at the same time, it's like that's the reality that a lot of people don't want to hear, is that there are a lot of solutions. And I always tell people there's two options when someone is comparing working with you with somebody else. It's either that they're choosing between you and the status quo, meaning are they going to stay the same of where they're at or figure things out on their own? So that's one option. Or option number two is, am I going to find a different solution that's either going to do it better, faster, or less expensive? So you have to decide, if you want to be a premium solution, am I solving the problem in a innovative way that allows me to do this better, faster, or longer term? Or am I doing this for cheaper? You have to make that decision and decide, how am I competing in the market space? And so many people have never given this two seconds to think about. Next is having an actual process that is geared towards high intent clients. So high intent clients are people who value their time more than their money, meaning that that is like their time is the most valuable asset they own. So if we are asking them to come into your world and sit inside of a Facebook group with thousands of hours of trainings, or we're asking them to sit through a funnel that takes them 15 emails to get to when you ask them to make a purchasing decision, then we have obviously neglected their time. We have not taken into consideration how they make buying decisions. So actually having a process in place that's geared towards how these people make buying decisions. And then lastly, are you able to get results? Like, that's something I actually didn't put into my post, but that actually pisses me off a lot, is I'll talk to people who have worked at trying to get clients in their marketing and they're doing quote unquote all the right things. But ultimately, I'm like, can you actually deliver results? And if the answer is no, that should be priority number one, ensuring that you have the skill set, have the tools, have the offer, the programming necessary in order to achieve that. So that was a long-winded way, but I want to kind of break down all the actual true things that we need in order to do that.
And from my perspective, as somebody who trains people to be sleep consultants, I feel confident that people come out of my program knowing how to get people results. Where they sometimes struggle is that if they don't have experience, if they haven't supported a lot of families, they sometimes often lack the confidence to articulate their value to prospective clients. And I think that is part of the learning process, and part of becoming a premium solution is showing up confidently. Would you agree?
I 1000% agree. And I think there's two sides of it. It's conviction and confidence, right? Like, yes, they kind of breed each other, but I think conviction comes from, do you believe that what you're doing is valuable? And then confidence comes from, do I have a way to communicate that value in a way that others can understand? So the conviction is something that nobody can build for you. You can't get there no one can force you to get there. You have to have that on your own, that yes, I believe that what I'm doing is massively valuable. Yes, I believe what I can do can change people's lives. Nobody can install that for you. But once you have that conviction, then it's translate that into the confidence of, how do I articulate what I do, how I do it, and why that's important. So I think it's kind of putting those two together, not having one versus the other.
Yeah. Okay. And how much do you feel is skill versus mindset? Like, I know it's a really tricky question, right? But, I think about people who come out of my program, and a lot of them, they have the skills and they just lack the mindset to get it all going, right? And if we can put our brains in the right place and really position ourselves to believe that we have authority and that we have the power to get people results and that we are the solution to this problem, then all of a sudden business looks a little different.
It does. And I'll tell you something I tell my kids all the time, right? Like, my kids are always like, hey, I don't want to go. My daughter started ballet one year and she was like, I'm not good at this. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, that's not how this works. Like, you don't wake up one day and just, I'm good at this thing because I learned how to do it in one or two lessons. It's like, I learned this thing, I consistently applied this thing, I practiced, I understood it, I got deeper into it, I created a mastery of it. No one else is going to do that. So I think I'm as much as I am a believer that mindset is what's going to fuel you, action is what's going to continue that. So I think it's putting those two pieces together of, you're right, you have a skill. Is that skill being practiced enough that it's creating belief? If we're not installing belief, typically it's because we're not practicing hard enough, or we're not doing it in a way that allows us to see that for ourselves and then be able to now say, now I'm going to show that to others.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Because if I think about my grads, people who are right out of the gate, first of all, they don't have the experience, they don't have the practice, they don't have the muscle memory to just do the work without, with their eyes closed, upside down on their heads. Like it's not rote for them. And then I look at my grads who finished the course 3, 4 years ago, and they are doing this like it's second nature, right? And just like you said, we teach our kids practice makes perfect, and you actually have to put in the hard work, and you can't just show up and be a star. That's usually not the way it works.
It never is. Like, I think about even like amazing professional athletes. We think of Michael Jordan. We think of these people that we looked up to, right? And we think that, gosh, they just were born with natural talent. They were just really good at what they do. But when you actually look at their stories, they weren't. They had to practice. They had to get up every single day. Like, some of these people didn't become athletes until later on. And if you think about the fact that business is like being an athlete, you have to freaking put the work in. You have to practice. You have to do the things necessary in order to get there. You have to be willing to do that. So the same thing you said, like, someone comes in your world, they get the skill set, they learn the concepts. Now it's, how are you choosing to go apply that? Because marketing, and I say this to people all the time, marketing isn't going to make a bad product better. So, and I don't mean a bad product like you don't have the skill set, you do, but like, do you have the confidence? Do you have the conviction? Do you have the positioning to understand what you do and how you do it? If you don't, then listen, marketing is just like putting some lipstick on a pig. So I don't know if you remember, like, back in 2015, and a little bit before that, there was all of these homes that, like, people were flipping homes, right? And
Yeah.
what a lot of people were doing is that they were buying these homes for cheap, and then they were just making some cosmetic changes to the homes and then flipping them for hundreds of thousands of dollars more. And of course, on paper, they looked great because all the things that were actually wrong were covered up temporarily. And yet when you got into the home and the person purchased the home, there was all these issues, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what did I buy here? You don't want to do the same thing in your business, right? You don't want to have fantastic marketing, but then not actually have the conviction, not have the positioning, not have the deep understanding of your work and how it works. Otherwise, you're essentially like getting people to buy into something that's just all fake. It's all not there. So I always think of it from that standpoint of that we really have to have a clear understanding of that. So for your people, it's like, you learned the skills, you have the tools necessary at this point in what you're doing. How are you practicing those? How are you bringing those to life? How are you allowing yourself to be in that so that you can start to see and build that conviction on your own so that you can now communicate it in your marketing?
You're reminding me why I hired you however many years ago, right? Like that's exactly what you did for me. I got onto a call with you, and I don't remember what that call was like, but all I remember is that when we worked together, I was talking about how I teach business building and entrepreneurship inside of my sleep consultant certification course. And you're like, okay, show me. And I gave you access to my course, and you're like, you're not really doing that. Like, you're talking about it, but you're not really doing it. And I was like, oh, good point. Okay, I need to be doing it. And so I completely revamped my business building section. And I was like, all right, we're going to talk sales. We're going to teach sales. We're going to teach marketing. We're going to teach business growth strategy. We're going to teach mindset work. And now it's actually really there. Like it's meat and potatoes. Like it's physically there. And when it's actually physically there, and when you own it and it's yours and you created it with your own blood, sweat, and tears, it's a whole lot easier to present it to the world as something really wonderful, because it is like it's my baby. I made it, like I did it myself. And that was a really valuable experience. Was like I thought I was doing something, but really I was just talking about something. And then we shifted to actually doing it. And that's when my business really started to rock and roll, right? And so that I love that about you. Like I love that you always notice that. It's like you have to actually be doing
Good.
what you say you're
Yeah.
doing.
Like crazy thought, we actually have to be good at what we do. Like it's crazy that even me saying that sounds like a crazy thought, but I think we've become so accustomed to being good enough that we aren't willing to realize that we have to be better. We have to be willing to say, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be a hard worker. I'm going to put the effort in. Like if 2024 taught us anything, it's that only the strong survive. It's that I've watched a lot of business owners who have told me it's been hard. And it's like, what the difference between those who have had successful years this year, even if it was difficult, versus those who did not, were those who understood that it required them to put in the work. It required them to own up and to take us next level, like do things at a level of mastery that others would not. And that is truly like if you look at entrepreneurship, you and I have this conversation all the time. It's why we get along so well. Is like it's not about just half-assing your way through things. It's like actually putting the effort and energy in to being the best, to being amazing, to being incredible.
Yeah, you have to commit to greatness. I
Yes.
tell people that all the time. People who are just starting in this field and they're like, I'm really frustrated. Like, I don't have any clients this month. And it's like, are you committing to your own greatness? You literally just got started. So it's okay if you don't have a client right now. That's fine. But what are you doing to commit to your own success down the road? Are you just swirling and stewing and being frustrated about your current circumstances, or are you scooping up every nugget of knowledge and every little grain of expertise that you possibly can to be the best of the best?
And I think it's something that you and I naturally get, which is we can't wait for opportunity, we create opportunity. And I think that that's just the truth is you either can sit there and wait for opportunity and sit there and complain about the fact that I didn't get that success because I waited for it. I thought it would just happen and things should just be here. Or am I creating opportunity? So when things don't feel like they're moving in the direction that I want, am I saying, how can I create opportunity from this? Where is that place? And I think the more that we can install that belief from the beginning in your work to know that you are not saying, I will only be successful if when the stars align, when things go exactly as planned, if these things happen, like that is unrealistic. What real growth is I will be successful regardless. I will be successful no matter what happens. I will find a way. And that is that mindset of what we're doing and what we're putting together for ourselves. That ultimately, again, going back to like, you want the best clients, you have to continuously choose to be the best at what you do. You have to continuously choose to up level where you're at, what you're doing in order to achieve that. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be hustling all the time. It just means that you have to be able to be willing to see that version of what you want and work towards it consistently over and over and over again and understand that's not always going to go according to plan. There's a really fascinating fact that maybe you guys would like to is that Mr. Beast, who's like crazy successful on YouTube, he says that there's nothing that he's doing that's like he doesn't feel like he's better than other people. But what he does know is that he implements faster than anybody else he knows. So if he has an idea, he applies it and implements it immediately. He doesn't sit on it. He doesn't stew on it. He doesn't let it happen and wonder what's going to happen. He's the fastest to implement, which means he allows himself to fail as quickly as possible so that he can consistently iterate from that. And I think there's just some power in that, especially at the beginning state of your business, is that you're either going to be paying in time or money. Time is I'm willing to fail forward as quickly as possible as I can, or I'm gonna invest in a solution to solve for my problem. It's one or the other. Just like we're asking other people to invest with time or money, we're investing our time and money to make that. But I think the more we understand that, the better it is for us to see the path forward.
So I think this conversation is really helpful for people who are already in business. It's like a good little pep talk, right? I don't want to scare off people who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs, who want to become sleep consultants, because, you know, it's hard work, right? Like the work that we do to grow a successful business. I think there are a lot of people, as you said in the beginning of this conversation, there are a lot of people online promising the world, and neither you nor I do that. I always am really transparent about the fact that growing a successful business is 100% possible. It's also hard work. And I want to make clear to those who are listening who haven't yet gotten started that like this is not an impossible feat, right? This is totally doable.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, again, installing from the beginning that you're willing to do what it takes to get there. And I think that's the thing is it's not, nothing's impossible. And what's going to allow you to be successful is that conviction, that belief in what you're doing, having the right skill sets, having the right tools that will allow you to be successful, and then choosing to be successful again and again and again. I don't think it's rocket science, but I do think it takes work. It's not impossible. It just requires you to have that conviction, that belief, and that confidence in order to do that.
Are there any sort of nuggets of advice or suggestions for habits or routines that you suggest to your clients so that they can continue to put one foot in front of the other and not quit before gaining traction?
I would say it's understanding your market. I'll be honest with you, it's like probably one of the least talked about, but the more you understand your market and the needs that are of the market, the easier it becomes for you to be successful. Because whether it's how you speak to high intent clients or how you position yourself as the right solution, that's all understanding your market. So the more you understand that, what are people naturally experiencing right now? What is it that's their struggle? What is it that they feel like people aren't answering? What is it that they really truly need? What does that look like for them emotionally? What does that look for them physically? Like really truly understanding your market. The more you can get down and dirty in that, the better. I always ask people the question of like, what makes you different from anybody else? And that's a scary question, but it's one that you should be able to answer. And the way to know that is what's happening in the market. How are other people doing things? What are other people telling them? So if I were to say like what truly guide success and is a good way for people to really dig their feet in, it's to understand the market. Like when we work with our clients, we literally sit down and we go through a whole market research process regardless of where they're at in their business, because the more they have a deeper understanding of that, the easier it's going to be for them to speak to what they do, for them to speak to the right people, because they'll understand the needs of that person and they'll understand how they're solving for a gap in the market. So I think really, if I could say, sit down and look at 3 or 4 of your competitors, take a look at what they're doing. How do they get success? What are they promising? What do you think is missing? How are you doing things differently? That alone would give you a good starting point. But also, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions of your market. Ask questions or look for existing questions if you're uncomfortable asking questions, but ask questions of your market, whether that's with collaborators who also see similar clients to you. So that means going to doctors, going to chiropractors, going to lactation consultants and asking, what do you see happening? How do you see parents struggling in this area? And asking from that or asking directly from the source. Another thing that people don't realize is you could go on Reddit, you can go to other places that people are already asking those questions and gain an understanding of that. But the deeper you understand, the more you're going to be able to contribute and master where your role in all of that is.
I also just think it takes practice talking about it in a way that resonates with your ideal client. If I think back to 5 or 6 years ago, I don't think my communication was as effective. The way that I articulated my value to prospective clients didn't roll off the tongue the way that it does now. And to some degree, you have to be willing to have those conversations over and over and over again. I did a podcast, I don't know, a few months ago, a year ago, all about getting comfortable with the word no. And I think that's really important in business because, you have to hear yourself in a way that doesn't resonate with families so that you can start to course correct and communicate in a way that does resonate with families, right?
1000% messaging can't be built in a vacuum. So you cannot sit there and build a perfect message and think that it's amazing without actually going out and speaking it, validating it, seeing how people respond to it. So exactly what you said, I'll tell my clients once we've developed the messaging itself, it's how are we communicating that? So for you, it's like if you're starting to talk about what you're doing, be willing to go on a podcast and sound silly, say things that maybe aren't perfect, but also start to see what resonates with people as you're speaking. Pay attention to those little things and where are their ears perking up? Where are they paying more attention? Now you know what people are resonating with. The deeper and faster we can understand that resonance, the easier it becomes for us to communicate. But absolutely, there is so much power in just doing that, going out and putting that into practice and seeing what comes of it and then iterating from there.
So tell everybody a little bit about you. How do you support your clients? What does it look like to work with you? Where can people connect with you if they want to learn more?
Of course, I'd love it. So first of all, you can get to know my whole process and what I call a Netflix effect of how we actually get our leads to sell themselves. You can check out my entire mini series by heading on over to easyesleads.com. So easy peasy way to check out how we kind of do things. I work with clients in a variety of different ways. For your world, it's most likely in my Growth Bridge program. I support my clients in actually helping them develop an entire end-to-end strategy of building their messaging, their positioning in the market, knowing what their method is, and then developing an entire marketing and sales system so that they have something that's repeatable, that isn't tech heavy, isn't built on them spending hours and hours a week, but allows them to really put that into play so that they can create the steps necessary. And we look at things very holistically. So we're not looking at building one piece like, hey, here's your social media. It's how do all of the pieces work together so you walk away with the entire system. So we have our Growth Bridge program that does that. It's an absolutely amazing way to kind of get a feel for that and build out a system that is repeatable and really brings in clients consistently. And we can chat more about that if you want to hop on a call at easyesleads.com/call. But as always, I just would love to just connect and even hear questions you guys have from this episode. You can feel free to message me on social media, whether that's Facebook or Instagram at Next Level Up CEO. I am an open book and I love supporting your clients and listeners because I feel like they come in with a mindset that's much different than most people when it comes to business. And I absolutely love it. So if you guys have questions or anything I can answer, just want to gain some insight, I'm more than happy to answer those for you guys. But those are all the places that I'm sure we can link those down below as well.
Thank you, Nas. Always great chatting with you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much to me if you would rate, review, and subscribe. When you rate, review, and subscribe, this helps the podcast reach a greater audience. I am so grateful for your support. If you would like to learn more about how you can become a certified sleep consultant, head over to my Facebook group, Becoming a Sleep Consultant, or to my website, thecpsm.com. Thanks so much, and I hope you will tune in for the next episode.